it might prove to be an embarrassment later on. That's very considerate of you, but I'm afraid the master will be furious with us for letting you go. I'll send him a note explaining everything. I only came today to pay my respects. I think I should be leaving now. Outside the gate, he turned toward the beach, but before he had got halfway there, he heard voices calling from behind. Looking back, he saw a handful of elderly-looking samurai from the house of Hosokawa, two of whom had gray hair. Not recognizing any of them, he assumed they were shouting to someone else and walked on. Upon reaching the shore, he stood and gazed out over the water. A number of fishing boats rested at anchor in the offing, their far sails ashen in the misty light of early evening. Beyond the larger mass of Hikojima, the outline of Funashima was barely visible. Musashi, you are Miyamoto Musashi, aren't you? Musashi turned to face them, wondering what business these aged warriors could have with him. You don't remember us, do you? Didn't think you would. It has been too long. My name's Utsumi Makubenojo. All six of us are from Mimasaka. We used to be at the service of the House of Shimen at Takayama Castle. And I'm Koyama Handayu. Makubenojo and I were close friends of your father's. Musashi smiled broadly. Well, this is a surprise. Their drawl, unmistakably that of his native village, stirred up many childhood memories. After bowing to each of them, he said, It's good to see you, but tell me, how does it happen you are all here together, so far from home? Well, as you know, the House of Shimen was disbanded after the Battle of Sekigahara. We became ronin and fled to Kyushu, came here to Busan province. For a while, to keep body and soul together, we wove straw horseshoes. Later, we had a stroke of good luck. Is that so? Well, I must say, I never expected to meet friends of my father's in Kokura. It's an unexpected pleasure for us too. You are a fine-looking samurai, Musashi. Too bad your father isn't here to see you now. For a few minutes, they commented to one another on Musashi's fine appearance. Then Makubenojo said, Stupid of me. I'm forgetting what we came after you for. We just missed you at Sato's house. Our plan was to spend an evening with you. It has all been arranged with Sato. Handayu chimed in. That's right, it was very rude of you to come as far as the front door and leave without seeing Sato. You are the son of Shimen Munisai. You should know better. Now come back with us. Apparently, he felt that having been a friend of Musashi's father authorized him to issue orders to the son. Without waiting for an answer, he started walking away, expecting Musashi to follow. Musashi, on the point of accompanying them, stopped himself. I'm sorry, he said. I don't think I should go. I apologize for being so rude, but I think it would be wrong for me to join you. Everyone came to a halt, and Makubenojo said, Wrong? What's wrong about it? We want to give you a proper welcome. Same village and all that, you know. Sato's looking forward to it too. You don't want to offend him, do you? Makubenojo, sounding resentful, added, What's the matter? Angry about something? I'd like to go, Musashi said politely, but there are other things to consider. Though it's probably just a rumor, I have heard that my bout with Kojiro is a source of friction between the two oldest retainers in the house of Hosokawa, Nagaoka Sato and Iwama Kakube. They say Iwama's side has the approval of Lord Tadatoshi, and Nagaoka is trying to strengthen his own faction by opposing Kojiro. This was met with murmurs of surprise. I feel sure, Musashi continued, that it's no more than idle speculation, but still public talk is a dangerous thing. What happens to a Ronin like myself doesn't matter much, but I wouldn't want to do anything to fan the rumors and raise suspicions about either Sado or Kakube. They are both valuable men in the fief. I see, said Makabe Nojo. Musashi smiled. Well, at least that's my excuse. To tell the truth, being a country boy is difficult for me to have to sit around and be polite all evening. I would just like to relax. Impressed with Musashi's consideration for others but still reluctant to part with him, they put their heads together and discussed the situation. This is the 11th day of the 4th month, said Handayu. For the past 10 years, the 6 of us have been getting together on this date. We have an ironclad rule against inviting outsiders, but you are from the same village and you are Munisai's son, so we would like to ask you to join us. It may not be the sort of entertainment we should provide, but you won't have to worry about having to be polite or being seen or talked about. If you put it that way, said Musashi, I don't see how I can refuse. The answer pleased the old samurai immensely. After another short huddle, it was arranged that Musashi would meet one of them, a man named Kinami Kagashiro, a couple of hours later in front of a tea shop, and they went their separate ways. Musashi met Kagashiro at the appointed hour, and they walked about a mile and a half from the center of town to a place near Itatsu Bridge. Musashi saw no samurai houses or restaurants, nothing but the lights of a solitary drinking shop and a cheap inn, both some distance away. Ever on the alert, he began turning possibilities over in his mind. There was nothing suspicious about their story. They looked the right age and their dialect fit in with their story, but why an out-of-the-way place like this? Kagashiro left him and went toward the river bank. Then he called Musashi, saying, They are all here. Come on down and let the way along the narrow path on the dike. Maybe the party's on a boat, thought Musashi, smiling at his own excessive cautiousness. But there was no boat. He found them sitting on reed mats in formal style. Forgive us for bringing you to a place like this, said Makabe Nojo. This is where we hold our meeting. We feel some special good fortune has brought you to be with us. Sit down and rest a while. His manner grave enough to be welcoming an honored guest into a fine parlor with silver collar shoji. He pushed a strip of matting forward for Musashi. Musashi wondered if this was their idea of elegant restraint or if there was some particular reason for not meeting in a more public place. But as a guest, he felt constrained to act as one. Bowing, he seated himself formally on the mat. Make yourself comfortable, urged Makabe Nojo. We will have a little party later, but first we have to perform our ceremony. It won't take long. The 6 men rearranged themselves more informally, each man taking a sheaf of the straw they had brought with them, and they proceeded to weave straw horseshoes. Mouths tightly closed, eyes never leaving their walk, they appeared solemn, even pious. Musashi watched respectfully, sensing strength and fervor in their movements as they spat on their hands, ran the straw through their fingers, and plaited it between their palms. I guess this will do, said Handayu, laying down a finished pair of horseshoes and looking around at the others. I'm finished too. They placed their horseshoes in front of Handayu, brushed themselves off, and straightened their clothes. Handayu piled the horseshoes on a small table in the middle of the cycle of samurai, and Marco Pinocchio, the oldest, stood up. It's now the 12 years since the Battle of Sekigahara, since that day of defeat that will never be erased from our memories, he began. We have all lived longer than we had any right to expect. This we owe to the protection and bounty of Lord Hosokawa. We must see that our sons and grandsons remember his lordship's goodness to us. Murmurs of assent went around the group. They sat in a reverent attitude, their eyes lowered. We must also remember forever the largesse of successive heads of the House of Shimen, even though that great house no longer exists. Nor should we ever forget the misery and hopelessness that were ours when we came here. It is to remind us of these three things that we hold this meeting each year. Now let us pray as one man for one another's health and welfare. In chorus, the men replied, the goodness of Lord Hosokawa, the largesse of the house of Shimen, the bounty of heaven that has delivered us from distress. We will not forget for a day. Now make the obeisance, said Marco Pinocchio. They turned toward the white walls of Kokura Castle, seen dimly against the dark sky, and bowed to the ground. Then they turned in the direction of Mimasaka province and bowed again. Finally, they faced the horseshoes and bowed a third time. Each movement was carried out with the utmost gravity and sincerity. To Musashi, Marco Pinocchio said, now we are going to the shrine above here and make an offering of the horseshoes. After that, we can get on with the party, if you will just wait here. The man who led the way carried the table with the horseshoes at full head level, the others following single file. They tied their handiwork to the branches of a tree beside the shrine entrance. Then, after clapping their hands once before the deity, they rejoined Musashi. The fare was simple, a stew with taros, bamboo shoots with bean paste, and dried fish, the sort of meal served in local farmhouses. But there was much sake and much laughter and talk. When the mood became convivial, Musashi said, it's a great honor to be asked to join you, but I have been wondering about your little ceremony. It must have some very special meaning for you. It does, said Marco Pinocchio. When we came here as defeated warriors, we had no one to turn to. We would rather have died than steal, but we had to eat. Finally, we hit on the idea of setting up shop over there by the bridge and making horseshoes. Our hands were callous from training with lances, so it took some effort to teach them to weave straw. We did that for 3 years, selling our work to passing grooms and somehow making enough to stay alive. The grooms came to suspect that weaving straw wasn't our usual occupation, and eventually someone told Lord Hosokawa Sensei about us. Learning we were former vassals of Lord Shimen, he sent a man to offer us positions. He told how Lord Sensei had offered a collective stipend of 5,000 bushels, which they refused. They were willing to serve him in good faith, but they felt the lord-to-vassal relationship should be on a man-to-man basis. Sensei understood their feelings and came back with an offer of individual stipends. He had also been understanding when his retainers expressed fears that the 6 ronin would not be able to attire themselves in a suitable manner to be presented to his lordship. But when a special allowance for clothes was suggested, Sensei said no, it would only cause embarrassment. Actually, the fears were unwarranted, for as low as they had sunk, they were still able to dress in starched clothes and wear their two swords when they went to receive their appointments. It wouldn't have been difficult to forget how hard our lives were doing menial work. If we hadn't stuck together, we wouldn't have been alive for Lord Sensei to engage us. We mustn't let ourselves forget that Providence took care of us during those difficult years. Ending his recital, he held up a cup, saying, "Forgive me for talking so long about us. I just wanted you to know we are men of goodwill, even if our sake is not first class and the food not very plentiful. We want you to put up a brave fight the day after tomorrow. If you lose, we will bury your bones for you. Don't worry." Accepting the cup, Musashi replied, "I'm honored to be here among you. It's better than drinking the very best sake in the finest mansion. I only hope I'll be as lucky as you have been. Don't hope that you will have to learn to weave horseshoes." The sound of sliding dirt cut short their laughter. Their eyes went to the dike where they saw the crouching bat-like figure of a man. "Who's there?" cried Kagashiro, on his feet at once. Another man rose, drawing his sword. The two climbed the dike and peered through the mist. Laughing, Kagashiro called down, "It seems to have been one of Kojiro's followers. He probably thinks we are Musashi's seconds and we are having a secret strategy session. He got away before we got a good look at him." "I can see Kojiro's supporters doing that," remarked one man. The atmosphere remained light-hearted, but Musashi decided not to linger any longer. The last thing he wanted was to do anything that might bring harm to these men later. He thanked them profusely for their kindness and left them to their party, walking casually into the darkness. At least he seemed casual. Nagaoka's cold wrath for letting Musashi leave his house fell on several people, but he waited until the morning of the 12th to dispatch men to look for him. When the men reported they couldn't find Musashi, had no idea where he was, Sato's white eyebrows shot up anxiously. What could have happened to him? Is it possible? He did not want to finish the thought. Also, on the 12th, Kojiro called at the castle and was warmly received by Lord Tadatoshi. They had some sake together and Kojiro left in high spirits, riding his favorite pony. By evening, the town was humming with rumors. Musashi probably got scared and ran away. No doubt about it, he's gone. That night was a sleepless one for Sato. He tried to convince himself that it simply wasn't possible. Musashi wasn't the type to run away. Still, it was not unknown for a seemingly reliable person to break down under stress. Fearing the worst, Sato foresaw having to commit seppuku, the only honorable solution if Musashi, whom he had recommended, failed to show up. The bright, clear dawn of the 30th found him walking in the garden with Iori, asking himself over and over, "Was I mistaken? Did I misjudge the man?" "Good morning, sir." Nuinosuke's tired face appeared at the gate. "Did you find him?" "No, sir. None of the innkeepers have seen anyone even resembling him." "Did you ask at the temples, the dojo, or the other places students of the martial arts go to?" "Mago Benojo and his group have been out all night and they haven't come back yet." Sato's brow furrowed. Through the fresh leaves of the plum trees, he could see the blue sea. The waves seemed to be beating against his very chest. "I don't understand it." "He's nowhere to be found, sir." One by one, the searchers returned, tired and disappointed. Assembling near the veranda, they talked the situation over in a mood of anger and desperation. According to Kinami Kagashiro, who had passed by Sasaki Kojiro's house, several hundred supporters had gathered outside the gate. The entrance was bedecked with bunting bearing a festive gentian crest, and a gold screen had been placed directly before the door from which Kojiro was to emerge. At dawn, contingents of his followers had gone to the three main shrines to pray for his victory. Unrelieved gloom prevailed at Sato's house, the burden being especially heavy for the men who had known Musashi's father. They felt betrayed. If Musashi reneged, it would be impossible for them to face their fellow samurai or the world at large. When Sato dismissed them, Kagashiro vowed, "We will find the bastard. If not today, some other day, and when we do, we will kill him." Returning to his own room, Sato lit the incense in the incense burner, as he did every day. But Inosuke detected a special gravity in the deliberateness of his movements. He's preparing himself, he thought, grieved to think that it had come to this. Just then, Iori, standing at the edge of the garden gazing at the sea, turned and asked, "Did you try the house of Kobayashi Tarozeman?" Inosuke realized instinctively that Iori had hit on something. No one had gone to the shipping broker's establishment, but it was exactly the sort of place Musashi would choose so as to keep out of sight. "The boy's right," exclaimed Sato, his face brightening. "How stupid of us! Get over there right away." "I'm going too," said Iori. "Is it all right for him to go along?" "Yes, he can go too. Now hurry." "No, wait a minute." He dashed off a note and informed Inosuke of its contents. "Sasaki Kojiro will cross to Funashima in a boat provided by Lord Tadatoshi. He will arrive by 8 o'clock. You can still make it by then. I suggest you come here and make your preparations. I'll provide a boat to take you to your glorious victory." In Sato's name, Inosuke and Iori procured a fast craft from the thieves' boatmaster. They made it to Shimonoseki in record time, then proceeded directly to Tarozeman's shop. In response to their inquiry, a clerk said, "I don't know any details, but it appears there's a young samurai staying at the master's house." "That's it, we found him." Inosuke and Iori grinned at each other and rapidly covered the short distance between shop and house. Confronting Tarozeman directly, Inosuke said, "This is thief business and it's urgent. Is Miyamoto Musashi staying here?" "Yes." "Thank heaven. My master's been worried sick. Quick now, tell Musashi I'm here." Tarozeman went into the house and reappeared a minute later, saying, "He's still in his room. He's sleeping." "Sleeping?" Inosuke was appalled. "He was up late last night talking with me over some sake. This is no time to be sleeping. Wake him up right now." The merchant, refusing to be pressured, showed Inosuke and Iori into a guest room before going to awaken Musashi. When Musashi joined them, he appeared well rested, eyes as clear as a baby's. "Good morning," he said cheerfully as he seated himself. "Is there something I can do for you?" Inosuke, deflated by the nonchalant greeting, silently handed him Sato's letter. "How good of him to write," said Musashi, raising the letter to his forehead before breaking the seal and opening it. Iori was staring a hole through Musashi, who acted as if he wasn't even there. After reading the letter, he rolled it up and said, "I'm grateful for Sato's thoughtfulness." Only then did he glance at Iori, causing the boy to lower his head to hide his tears. Musashi wrote a reply and handed it to Inosuke. "I've explained everything in the letter," he said, "but be sure to convey my thanks and my best wishes." He added that they were not to worry. He would go to Funashima in his own good time. There was nothing they could do, so they left. Iori hadn't said a word to Musashi, nor Musashi to him, yet the two had communicated to each other the mutual devotion of teacher and pupil. As Sado read Musashi's reply, a look of relief spread across his face. The letter said, "My deepest thanks for your offer of a boat to take me to Funashima. I do not deem myself worthy of such an honor. Moreover, I do not feel that I should accept. Please take into consideration that Kojiro and I are facing each other as opponents, and that he is using a boat provided by Lord Tadatoshi. If I were to go in your boat, it would appear that you were opposing his lordship. I do not think you should do anything on my behalf. Although I should have told you this earlier, I refrained because I knew you would insist upon helping me. Rather than involve you, I came and stayed at Tarozaemon's house. I shall also have the use of one of his boats to go to Funashima at the hour I think appropriate. Of that you may rest assured." Deeply impressed, Sado stared silently at the writing for a time. It was a good letter, modest, thoughtful, considerate, and he was now ashamed of his agitation of the day before. Inosuke, "Yes, sir. Take this letter and show it to Makobenojo and his comrades, as well as the others concerned." Inosuke had just left when a servant came in and said, "If your business is finished, sir, you should get ready to leave now." "Yes, of course, but there's still plenty of time," Sado replied quietly. "It's not early. Kakube's already left. That's his business. Iori, come here a minute, sir." "Are you a man, Iori?" "I think so." "Do you think you can keep from crying whatever happens?" "Yes, sir." "All right then, you can go to Funashima with me as my attendant. But remember one thing. We may have to pick up Musashi's corpse and bring it back with us. Could you still keep from crying?" "Yes, sir, I will. I swear I will." Inosuke had no sooner hurried through the gate than a shabbily dressed woman called to him. "Pardon me, sir, but are you a retainer in this house?" Inosuke stopped and looked at her suspiciously. "What do you want? Forgive me. Looking the way I do, I shouldn't be standing in front of your gate." "Well, why are you doing it then?" "I wanted to ask. It's about the fight today. People are saying Musashi has run away. Is that true?" "You stupid wench! How dare you? You are talking about Miyamoto Musashi. Do you think he would do a thing like that? Just wait until 8 o'clock and you will see. I've just been to see Musashi." "Mm-mm. You saw him? Who are you?" She dropped her eyes. "I'm an acquaintance of Musashi." But still you worry about groundless rumors." "All right, I'm in a hurry, but I'll show you a letter from Musashi." He read it aloud for her, not noticing the man with tearful eyes looking over his shoulder. When he did notice, he jerked his shoulder back and said, "Who are you? What do you think you are doing?" Wiping the tears from his eyes, the man bowed sheepishly. "Sorry, I'm with this woman. Her husband?" "Yes, sir. Thank you for showing us the letter. I feel like I have actually seen Musashi. Don't you, Akemi?" "Yes, I feel so much better. Let's go find a place to watch." Inosuke's anger evaporated. "If you go to the top of that hill over there by the shore, you should be able to see Funashima. As clear as it is today, you might even be able to make out the sandbar. We are sorry to have made a nuisance of ourselves when you are in a hurry. Please forgive us. As they started to walk away, Nuinosuke said, "Just a minute, what are your names? If you don't mind, I would like to know." "If you don't mind." They turned and bowed. "My name's Matahachi. I was born in the same village as Musashi. My name's Akemi." Nuinosuke nodded and ran off. They watched him for a few moments, exchanged glances, and hurried on to the hill. From there, they could see Funashima jetting up among a number of other islands. The mountains of Nagato in the distance beyond. They spread some reed matting on the ground and sat down. The waves rumbled below them, and a pile of needle or two floated down. Akemi took the baby from her back and began nursing it. Matahachi, his hands on his knees, stared fixedly out over the water. The marriage. Nuinosuke went fast to Makobenojo's house, showed him the letter, and explained the circumstances. He left immediately, not even taking time for a cup of tea, and made quick stops at the other 5 houses. Up the beach from the shore commissioner's office, he positioned himself behind a tree and watched the battle that had been going on since early morning. Several teams of Musashi had already left for Funashima. The ground cleaners, the witnesses, the guards, each group in a separate boat. On the beach, another small boat stood ready for Kojiro. Tadatoshi had it built especially for this occasion, of new timber with new water brooms and new hemp palm ropes. The people seeing Kojiro off numbered about 100. Nuinosuke recognized some as friends of the swordsman, many others he did not know. Kojiro finished his tea and came out of the commissioner's office, accompanied by the officials. Having entrusted his favorite pony to his friends, he walked across the sand toward the boat. Tatsunosuke followed close behind. The crowd silently arranged itself into 2 rows and made way for their champion. Seeing the way Kojiro was dressed made many imagine that they themselves were about to go into battle. He had on a narrow-sleeved silk kimono, solid white with a raised figure pattern. Over this, a sleeveless cloak of brilliant red. His purple leather hakama was of the type that is gathered just below the knees and is tight, like leggings on the calf. His straw sandals appear to have been dampened slightly to keep them from slipping. Besides the short sword he always carried, he had the drying pole which he had not used since becoming an official in the house of Hosokawa. His white, full-cheeked face was a steady and calm above the flaming red of his cloak. There was something grand, something almost beautiful about Kojiro today. Nuinosuke could see that Kojiro's smile was quiet and confident. Flashing his grin in all directions, he looked happy and perfectly at ease. Kojiro stepped into the boat. Tatsunosuke got in after him. There were 2 crewmen, one in the prow and the other manning the scull. Amayumi perched on Tatsunosuke's fist. Once clear of the shore, the scholar moved his arms with great languid strokes, and the little vessel glided gently forward. Startled by the cries of the well-wishers, the falcon flapped its wings. The crowd broke up into small groups and slowly dispersed, marveling over Kojiro's calm demeanor and praying that he would win this fight of all fights. I must get back, thought Nuinosuke, remembering his responsibility to see that Sado departed on time. As he turned away, he caught sight of a girl. Omitsu's body was pressed tightly against the trunk of a tree and she was crying. Feeling it indecent to stare, Inosuke averted his eyes and slipped away noiselessly. Out in the street again, he looked. He took a parting look at Kojiro's boat, then at Omitsu. Everyone has a public and private life, he thought. Behind all that fanfare, a woman stands weeping her heart out. On the boat, Kojiro asked Tatsunosuke for the falcon and held out his left arm. Tatsunosuke transferred Amayumi to his fist and respectfully moved away. The tide was flowing swiftly. The day was perfect, clear sky, crystal clear. But the waves were rather high. Each time water splashed over the gunwale, the falcon, in a fighting mood, ruffled its feathers. When they were about halfway to the island, Kojiro removed the band from its leg and threw the bird into the air, saying, "Go back to the castle." As though hunting as usual, Amayumi attacked a fleeing seabird, sending down a flurry of white feathers. But when its master did not call it back, it swooped down low over the islands, then soared into the sky and disappeared. After releasing the falcon, Kojiro began stripping himself of the Buddhist and Shinto good luck charms and writings showered on him by his supporters, casting them overboard one by one, even the cotton underrobe with the embroidered Sanskrit charm given by his aunt. Now, he said softly, I can relax. Faced with a life or death situation, he did not want to be bothered with memories or personalities. Being reminded of all those people who were praying for his victory was a burden. Their good wishes, no matter how sincere, were now more of a hindrance than a help. What mattered now was himself, his naked self. The salty breeze caressed his silent face. His eyes were fixed on the green pines of Funashima. In Shimonoseki, Tarozaemon walked past a row of beach sheds and entered his shop. Sasuke, he called. Hasn't anybody seen Sasuke? Sasuke was among the youngest of his many employees, but also one of the brightest. Treasured as a household servant, he also helped out in the shop from time to time. Good morning, said Tarozaemon's manager, emerging from his station in the accounting office. Sasuke was here just a few minutes ago. Turning to a young assistant, he said, Go find Sasuke, hurry. The manager started to bring Tarozaemon up to date on business matters, but the merchant cut him off, shaking his head as though a mosquito were after him. What I want to know is whether anybody has been here looking for Musashi. As a matter of fact, there was someone here already this morning. The messenger from Nagaoka Sado, I know about him. Anybody else? The manager rubbed his chin. Well, I didn't see him myself, but I'm told that a dirty looking man with sharp eyes came last night. He was carrying a long oak staff and asked to see Musashi Sensei. They had a hard time getting rid of him. Somebody blabbed, and after I told them how important it was to keep quiet about Musashi's being here. I know, I told them too, in no uncertain terms. But I can't do anything with the young ones. Having Musashi here makes them feel important. How did you get rid of the man? Sobe told him he was mistaken. Musashi has never been here. He finally left, whether he believed it or not. Sobe noticed there were 2 or 3 men waiting outside for him, one a woman. Sasuke came running up from the pier. Do you want me, sir? Yes, I want to make sure you are ready. It's very important, you know. I realize that, sir. I have been up since before sunrise. I washed in cold water and put on a new white cotton loincloth. Good. The boat's all ready, the way I told you last night. Well, there wasn't much to do. I picked out the fastest and cleanest of the boats, sprinkled salt around to purify it, and swept it down inside and out. I'm ready to leave whenever Musashi is. Where's the boat? On the shore with the other boats. After thinking a moment, Tarazaman said, we better move it. Too many people will notice when Musashi leaves. He doesn't want that. Take it up by the big pine, the one called the Heike Pine. Hardly anyone goes by there. Yes, sir. The shop, usually quite busy, was nearly deserted. Nervously upset, Tarazaman went out into the street. Here and in Moji, on the opposite shore, people were taking the day off. Men who appeared to be samurai from neighboring fiefs, ronin, Confucian scholars, blacksmiths, armorers, lacquer makers, priests, townsmen of all descriptions, some farmers from the surrounding countryside, scented women in veils and broad traveling hats, fishermen's wives with children on their backs or clinging to their hands. They were all moving in the same general direction, trying vainly to get closer to the island, though there was no vantage point from which anything smaller than a tree could be seen. I see what Musashi means, thought Tarazaman, to be set upon by this mob of sightseers, to whom the fight was merely a spectacle, would be unendurable. Returning to his house, he found the whole place fastidiously clean. In the room open to the beach, wave patterns flicker on the ceiling. Where have you been, father? I have been looking for you. Otsuru came in with tea. Nowhere in particular. He lifted his teacup and gazed pensively into it. Otsuru had come to spend some time with her beloved father. By chance, traveling from Sakai on the same vessel with Musashi, she had discovered they both had ties with Iori. When Musashi came to pay his respects to Tarazaman and thank him for taking care of the boy, the merchant had insisted Musashi stay at his house and had instructed Otsuru to look after him. The night before, while Musashi talked to his host, Otsuru sat in the next room sewing the new loincloth and stomach wrapper he had said he wanted on the day of the bout. She had already prepared a new black kimono, from which at a moment's notice she could remove the basting used to keep the sleeves and skirt properly folded until time for use. It crossed Tarazaman's mind that Otsuru just might be falling in love with Musashi. There was a worried look on her face. Something serious was on her mind. Otsuru, where Musashi? Have you given him his breakfast? Oh yes, long ago. After that he shut the door to his room. Getting ready, I suppose. No, not yet. What's he doing? He seems to be painting a picture. Now? Yes. We were talking about painting, and I asked him if he would paint a picture for me. I guess I shouldn't have done that. He said he would finish it before he left. He's painting one for Sasuke, too. Sasuke? Tarazaman echoed incredulously. He was growing more and more nervous. Doesn't he know it's getting late? You should see all the people milling about the streets. From the look on Musashi's face, you would think he had forgotten the bout. Well, it's no time to be painting. Go tell him that. Be polite, but let him know that can wait till later. Why me? I couldn't. And why not? His suspicion that she was in love was confirmed. Father and daughter communicated silently but perfectly, grumbling good-naturedly. Silly child, why are you crying? He got up and went toward Musashi's room. Musashi was kneeling silently, as though in meditation. his brush, ink box, and brush pot beside him. He had already finished one painting, a heron beneath a willow tree. The paper before him now was still blank. He was considering what to draw, or more exactly, quietly trying to put himself into the right frame of mind, for that was necessary before he could visualize the picture or know the technique he would employ. He saw the white paper as the great universe of non-existence. A single stroke would give rise to existence within it. He could evoke rain or wind at will, but whatever he drew, his heart would remain in the painting forever. If his heart was tainted, the picture would be tainted. If his heart was listless, so would the picture be. If he attempted to make a show of his craftsmanship, it could not be concealed. Men's bodies fade away, but ink lives on. The image of his heart would continue to breathe after he himself was gone. He realized that his thoughts were holding him back. He was on the brink of entering the world of non-existence, of letting his heart speak for itself, independent of his ego, free from the personal touch of his hand. He tried to be empty, waiting for that sublime state in which his heart could speak in unison with the universe, selfless and unhampered. The sounds from the street did not reach his room. Today's bout seemed completely apart from him. He was conscious merely of the tremulous movements of the bamboo in the inner garden. "May I intrude?" The shoji behind him opened noiselessly, and Taro-Zaman peered in. It seemed wrong, almost evil, to barge in, but he braced himself and said, "I'm sorry to distract you when you seem to be enjoying your walk so. Ah, please come in. It's nearly time to leave, I know. Everything's ready. All the things you will need are in the next room. That's very kind of you. Please don't worry about the paintings. You can finish them when you come back from Funashima." "Oh, it's nothing. I feel very fresh this morning. It's a good time to paint. But you have to think of the time." "Yes, I know. Whenever you want to make your preparations, just call. We are waiting to help you." "Thank you very much." Taro-Zaman started to leave, but Musashi said, "What time is high tide?" "At this season, the tide's lowest between 6 and 8 in the morning. It should be on the rise again about now." "Thank you," Musashi said absently, again addressing his attention to the white paper. Taro-Zaman quietly closed the shoji and went back to the parlor. He intended to sit down and wait quietly, but before long his nerves got the better of him. He rose and strode out to the veranda, from where he could see the current running through the strait. The water was already advancing on the beach. "Father, what is it?" "It's time for him to leave. I put his sandals out at the garden entrance." "He's not ready yet. Still painting?" "Yes. I thought you were going to make him stop and get ready." "He knows what time it is." A small boat pulled up on the beach nearby, and Taro-Zaman heard his name called. It was Nuinosuke asking, "Has Musashi left yet?" When Taro-Zaman said no, Nuinosuke said rapidly, "Please tell him to get ready and start as quickly as possible. Kojiro's already left, and so has Lord Hosokawa. My master's leaving from Kokura right now. I'll do my best. Please, maybe I sound like an old woman, but we want to be sure he's not late. It'd be a shame to bring dishonor on himself at this point." He rode away hurriedly, leaving the shipping broker and his daughter to fret by themselves on the veranda. They counted the seconds, glancing from time to time toward the little room in the back, from which came not the slightest sound. Soon a second boat arrived with a messenger from Funashima sent to hurry Musashi along. Musashi opened his eyes at the sound of the shoji opening. There was no need for Otsuru to announce her presence. When she told him about the boat from Funashima, he nodded and smiled affably. I see, he said, and left the room. Otsuru glanced at the floor where he had been sitting. The piece of paper was now heavily blotched with ink. At first the picture looked like an indistinct cloud, but she soon saw that it was a landscape of the broken ink variety. It was still wet. Please give that picture to your father, Musashi called above the sound of splashing water, and the other one to Sasuke. Thank you. You really shouldn't have done it. I'm sorry I don't have anything better to offer, after all the trouble you have gone to, but I hope your father will accept it as a keepsake. Otsuru replied thoughtfully. Tonight, by all means, come back and sit by the fire with my father, as you did last night. Hearing the rustling of clothes in the next room, Otsuru felt pleased. At last he was getting dressed. Then there was the silence again, and the next thing she knew, he was talking to her father. The conversation was very brief, only a few succinct words. As she passed through the next room, she noticed he had neatly folded his old clothes and placed them in a box in the corner. An indescribable loneliness seized her. She bent over and nestled her face against the still warm kimono. Otsuru called her father. What are you doing? He's leaving. Yes, father. She brushed her fingers over her cheeks and eyelids and ran to join him. Musashi was already at the garden gate, which he had chosen to avoid being seen. Father, daughter, and 4 or 5 others from the house and shop came as far as the gate. Otsuru was too overwrought to utter a word. When Musashi's eyes turned toward her, she bowed like the others. Farewell, said Musashi. He went through the low gate of woven grass, closed it behind him, and said, Take good care of yourselves. By the time they raised their heads, he was walking rapidly away. They stared after him, but Musashi's head did not turn. I guess that's the way it's supposed to be with samurai, someone mumbled. He leaves just like that, no speech, no elaborate goodbyes, nothing. Otsuru disappeared immediately. A few seconds later, her father retreated into the house. The Heike pine stood in solitude about 200 yards up the beach. Musashi walked toward it, his mind completely at rest. He had put all his thoughts into the blank ink of the landscape painting. It had felt good to be painting, and he considered his effort a success. Now for Funashima. He was setting forth calmly, as though this were any other journey. He had no way of knowing whether he would ever return, but he had stopped thinking about it. Years ago, when at the age of 22 he had approached the spreading pine of Ichijoji, he had been very keyed up, shadowed by a sense of impending tragedy. He had gripped his lonely sword with intense determination. Now he felt nothing. It was not that the enemy today was less to be feared than that 100 men he had confronted then. Far from it. Kojiro, fighting alone, was a more formidable opponent than any army that Yoshioka school could have mounted against him. There was not the least doubt in Musashi's mind but that he was going into the fight of his life. Sensei, Musashi. Musashi's mind did a turn at the sound of the voices and the sight of 2 people running toward him. For an instant he was dazed. Konosuke, he exclaimed, and grinning, how did you 2 get here? Both grimy from travel, knelt in the sand in front of him. We had to come, said Konosuke. We came to see you off, said Osugi. And I came to apologize. You apologize to me? Yes, for everything. I must ask you to forgive me. He looked inquiringly at her face. The words sounded unreal. Why do you say that, Granny? Has something happened? She stood with her hands clasped pleadingly. What can I say? I have done so many evil things. I can't hope to apologize for them, for all of them. It was all a horrible mistake. I was blinded by my love for my son, but now I know the truth. Please forgive me. He stared at her for a moment, then knelt and took her hand. He dared not raise his eyes for fear there might be tears in them. Seeing the old woman so contrite made him feel guilty. But he felt gratitude too. Her hand trembled, even his was quivering slightly. It took him a moment to pull himself together. I believe you, Granny. Now I'm grateful to you for coming. Now I can face death without regret, go into the bout with my spirit and my heart troubled. Then you will forgive me? Of course I will, if you will forgive me for all the trouble I have caused you since I was a boy. Of course, but enough of me. There's another person who needs your help. Someone who's very, very sad. She turned, inviting him to look. Enter the Heike Pie, looking shyly at them, her face pale and dewy with anticipation, stood Otsu. Otsu, he shouted. In a second he was before her, not knowing himself how his feet had transported him there. Konosuke and Osugi stood where they were, wishing they could disappear into thin air and leave the shore to the couple alone. Otsu, you've come. Words did not exist to bridge the chasm of years, to convey the war of feeling brimming inside him. You don't look well. Are you ill? He mumbled the words like an isolated line from a long poem. A little. Eyes lowered, she struggled to remain cool, to keep her wits about her. This moment, perhaps the last, must not be spoiled nor wasted. Is it just a cold, he asked, or something serious? What's wrong? Where have you been these past few months? I went back to the Shippoji last fall. Back home? Yes. She looked straight at him, her eyes becoming as limpid as the ocean depths, struggling to hold back tears. But there's no real home for an orphan like me, only the home inside me. Don't talk like that. Why, even Osugi seems to have opened her heart to you. That makes me very happy. You must recover for your health and learn to be happy. For me, I'm happy now. Are you? If that's true, I'm happy too. Otsu? He bent toward her. She stood stiffly, conscious of Osugi and Konosuke. Musashi, who had forgotten them, put his arm around her and brushed his cheek against hers. You are so thin, so thin. He was acutely conscious of her fevered breathing. Otsu, please forgive me. I may seem heartless, but I'm not. Not where you are concerned. I know that. Do you, truly? Yes, but I beg you, say one word for me, just one word. Tell me that I'm your wife. It would spoil it if I told you what you know already. But, she was sobbing with her whole body. With a burst of strength, she seized his hand and cried, Say it, say I'm your wife throughout this life. He nodded, slowly, silently. Then one by one he pulled her delicate fingers from his arm and stood erect. A samurai's wife must not weep and go to pieces when he goes off to war. Laugh for me, Otsu. Send me away with a smile. This may be your husband's last departure. Both knew the time had come. For a brief moment he looked at her and smiled. Then he said, Until then. Yes, until then. She wanted to return his smile, but only managed to hold back the tears. Farewell, he turned and walked with firm strides toward the water's edge. A parting word rose to her throat but refused to be uttered. The tears welled up irrepressibly. She could no longer see him. The strong, salty wind ruffled Musashi's sideburns. His kimono flapped briskly. Sasuke, bring the boat a little closer. Though he had been waiting for over 2 hours and knew Musashi was on